John McKay, joins us right now. Welcome back to Power Play. How you doing?
Thanks, Mike. Just a minor correction, 3 private members' bills.
3 private members' bills. Well,
yes. The last one is actually quite a consequential one, which is the supply chain slavery bill. And in the implementation date was May 31st. And 3,000 companies have actually, as of last week anyways, filed their compliance. So I take some pride in that.
And our apologies for not including that one as well, but thank you for mentioning it. I wanted to start off with, there's probably no one arguing out there that it's a good idea to retire at age 76, but why did you decide to retire now? What are some of the factors that you've considered?
Well, that's a big one. I have traded on the goodwill of my wife for 27 years. She has described herself as a political widow. And I don't think that's a good thing, certainly at our age and stage. I've done 27 years, would be 28 by the end of the mandate, 9 elections. And you have to have the oomph to go and do another election. And I just felt it's time at one point or another. There's a kind of a rationale that seems to all come together to hang up your skates.
Now, your party is currently trailing considerably to the Conservatives. Some people are chalking it up to fatigue with the Liberals or the leader. Is that a reason, or do you think that all of this could have been prevented right now, the predicament that the Liberals are in?
Well, I talked to the Prime Minister a year and a half ago about not going for another time. And
you or him, so just to be clear, that you weren't going to go for another time, or that he shouldn't?
That I was. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. No, I was not going to go. So this has really got nothing to do with the fortune, good or bad, of the Prime Minister or the party. But you rightly recognize that the Liberal Party and the Prime Minister have a fairly significant deficit to overcome, and the question is whether it can be overcome.
Do you think it can be, and what should they do to try and turn it around?
I think they actually can. First of all, the Prime Minister himself is extraordinarily good campaigner, charismatic individual, and even people that don't like him, of which there seems to be an abundance, are very keen to have their picture taken with him and talk to him. The second thing is, when he gets an opportunity to clarify and to explain some of the things that he's done, people sit and listen. And I've watched that happen in the room. And so I have some considerable confidence in the Prime Minister. And thirdly, I think he's actually got a record which a fair-minded person would say is a pretty significant legislative achievement. And he's taken us through a couple of really difficult periods, namely the Trump era and the COVID era. And that took considerable leadership. So I think he's got a very defensible record.
I just want you to reflect for the last question here on your time. You were first elected under Jean Chrétien. In those 27 years you've served as an MP, how have you seen the role of a backbench MP evolve? And can they affect change in a way that they hope to?
Good question. The role of the backbench MP is underappreciated in my view. I have the privilege on a weekly basis to sit with the Prime Minister and his cabinet and express myself in whatever way I wish to. That is an underappreciated privilege. The second thing is that all legislation at one point or another ends up in front of a committee. And so in my case, it's been the Defense Committee for the last few years. Before that, it was the Public Safety Committee. And you can make real changes. And I think that is, again, an underappreciated skill, and one that is not necessarily known in the public domain. And thirdly, as I referenced, I had 5 private members' bills, 3 of which got to royal assent. one of which ended up as Canadian Canadian Office of Responsible Enterprise, and one of which is embedded in law, but by virtue of being defeated by the Harper government and then put into one of their omnibus bills. So those are all, in my view, significant achievements, not necessarily appreciated by the day-to-day discourse in political and public life, but I think you can really make a difference, and I would encourage people to consider it. Let me just end with one point that's got me agitated these days, and that is the abuse of MPs. I am really fed up with the way in which public seems to feel that they can abuse MPs. My own office, along with 4 others, was vandalized a couple of weeks ago. We've had offices firebombed, garages burned down, people having to move out of their homes by virtue of homophobic paranoia, and it just goes on and on and on. And I think that this needs to be called out. This is a significant intrusion into our democratic way of life, and I'm hoping you and other journalists will start calling it out and saying this is unacceptable behavior. Because if it carries on, then in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, we'll be having a very much a different discourse about what a Canadian democracy looks like.
Liberal MP John McKay, never afraid to speak his mind and tell it like he sees it. Thank you so much.
To the end.
Not only for your time, but for your service to this country. We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Take care.